Hello, welcome to day 2 of our 10th annual virtual Digital Console Expo 2020. I am Brian Gran. I'm with the TC Furlong sales and marketing team. It's great to have everyone here today. Happy to be going on to day 2 today. So this is our 10th annual event, and this was originally designed as a great chance to learn more about Digital Console Expos outside of the big trade shows. And it was originally designed as an in-person event, but we are super happy to be putting this on as a virtual event for everyone this year. So since it is a virtual event, we're doing things a little different, so I want to help lay out the format for this year. This is the main session that we're in right now, and this is going to be designed as a time to hear some pre-recorded presentations from manufacturers, and then we'll go into some live discussion with everyone. In the afternoon, we have our breakout Q&A sessions, and this is a time where you would be entering into a manufacturer's booth on a trade show floor. So this is a great time in a Zoom room to get small group discussion directly with manufacturers. These breakout Q&As, you can find the registration for at digitalconsoleexpo.com. Later today, we also have some great deep dive webinars where some manufacturers will be going a little bit deeper into some of their product lines. Lawo has their session today at 3:30, and we also have a session from Allen Heath for their Avantis series. Again, all the registration for the deep dive webinars can be found at digitalconsoleexpo.com. So we're seeing a lot of familiar faces here today, friends of the TC Furlong company, but we're seeing some new faces here as well. So for those that don't know, TC Furlong is a live sound company that was established in 1973, almost 50 years ago. We are a Chicago area-based live sound company. We handle everything from equipment sales and rentals, live event production, and a handful of services, including sound system design and alignment, RF coordination, repairs, and more. So today we have some great presentations for you from SSL, Lawo, and AVID. So you're going to want to make sure you stick around through the end of each presentation. That's when manufacturers are going to be doing their giveaway. We have a lot of really cool giveaway items, including an SSL 2+ USB interface. We've got a swag package from Lawo and a Pro Tools 1-year license from AVID. So make sure you stick around to the end of the presentations. That's when we're going to be doing our live drawing giveaways. So first up this morning, we have our presentation from SSL.
Hello, welcome to SSL and our Virtual Console Expo. Today we're going to be talking about SSL live consoles. My name is George Horton. I'm here in our Los Angeles office in our demo room. I'm just sitting by a System T, which is our broadcast console. But today, as I said, we'll speak about SSL Live. So thank you. We will start off with a short presentation by my colleague in England, Sam, who's going to give us an overview of the live consoles, which there are 4 models, the 100, 200, 350, and 550. After Sam has given us our overview, I'm going to turn it over to 2 of my colleagues, Fernando and Andrew, who are going to go into 2 very specific features on the live console. We don't have time today to go into everything, but we will dive into some of the other key features. And at the end, I hope to end up this presentation with a summary of some exciting new software, v4.11, that will be released imminently. And so that'll be available to our current users and future users. So first of all, let's hand it over to Sam, who's going to give us the overview of the console. Take it away, Sam.
Hello, Sam from Solid State Logic here. In this video, we're going to explore some of our users' favorite features of the SSL Live platform. It may be different to consoles you've mixed on previously, and you might not yet know why it is sometimes good to be different. SSL Live carries the DNA of 40 years of true expertise in sound production, and engineers tell us that the audio performance is unlike any other console in the live market. We've taken the ultra-pristine super analog microphone preamps from our legendary studio consoles and used them as the front end to our live platform, allowing us to capture every performance as true to source as possible. Our preamps are matched with high-end A to D conversion, so what goes into the console is clean and ready to sculpt. Headroom is something else that engineers tell us is a strong point of the system. This is managed in our proprietary, patented 96 kHz 64-bit floating point Tempest audio engine, which has incredible power and flexibility. Every step of processing in the Tempest engine adds only one sample of latency, and you can manage and tweak the signal flow through every path on the console individually. Reordering the EQ, compressor, gate, all-pass filter, the 2 insert points, and even the fader in each channel strip is a simple drag-and-drop operation. Naturally, you need more than just one choice of flavor when choosing audio processing. So all of the SSL Live consoles have an inbuilt set of effects racks to complement the precise sound of the console. A broad mix of effects and audio tools are available without patching into third-party systems, and with up to 96 effect slots, it would only be the most challenging of shows or users who find a way to stretch the internal capacity. All of this adds up to a console system that feels and sounds as close to analog SSL as possible. SSL Live consoles don't restrict you to a fixed architecture of this many input channels and this many output buses, and the desks in the range offer increasingly flexible configuration options. Our consoles give engineers the choice of how to configure the DSP paths inside of the show file, or even insert them on the fly without audio dropout or reboot. These paths are the building blocks for designing and configuring your SSL Live show file, and can be configured as channels, AUXs, stems, or masters. For complex shows where large numbers of AUXs, broadcast feeds, and master outputs are required, the engineer is not limited by a rigid architecture. With up to 288 audio paths currently available on an L550, the SSL Live range of consoles offer all the power needed for modern touring acts. In fact, the ease and flexibility for configuration and mixing is one of the most common comments we get from engineers. The SSL Layer Manager uses a simple drag-and-drop interface for setting up each of the independent fader tiles. Each tile has 12 faders with 5 layers and 5 banks per layer. There are no restrictions on what can be placed where on the SSL fader tiles. Users are free to combine channels, AUXs, stems, VCAs, and even masters on a single fader tile if required. This adds up to 300 faders per tile that can be assigned to any path as many times as you want in any layout you require. Our query feature allows you to quickly interrogate your signal flow and gives you the ability to see where a channel was routed to, what is feeding a bus, or which channels are controlled by a VCA. A single press on the desired path will quickly hijack the other fader tiles to show master and contribution levels in a way that suits your workflow. Query can also be used to assign paths into other paths. Quickly adding a group of channels to a stem, for example, is like having flip-to faders on everything. Another benefit of the SSL platform is that we provide a unified operator interface across all consoles within the Live range. The L550, the L350, the L200, and L100 surfaces, as well as the remote tiles and our offline editor Salsa, all use the same hardware and operating system in different configurations, meaning that if you can use one, you can use them all. As an added bonus, we can also use any SSL Live surface or Salsa system as an expander to an existing SSL Live console, providing extra mix faders at front of house, a second mix position for presenter mics, or even a remote position for a broadcast feed. Interoperability is also an important feature of the SSL Live platform. We can take a show file saved on any model and load it into any other SSL console without conversion, without a laptop app, and without hassle. Compatibility mode makes scaling up or scaling down your show simple for the engineer when moving between console sizes. A simple browser window allows users to choose what resources may need to be reassigned and which are not required for smaller shows. SSL consoles talk MADI, and our consoles can have up to 16 local MADI ports. In addition, they can be fitted with SSL's blacklight optical connection for festival or stadium shows, where cable runs are long and input counts are very high. We also talk Dante, and are the only company to offer high channel count Dante connections of up to 288 channels down a single network cable into your switches and wider audio over IP system. All consoles also have a sensible number of local AES I/O, which can be supplemented on stage with additional stage boxes if required. These features only scratch the surface of what SSL Live is capable of. Head to our website to find out more and download our Salsa software to get an idea of what you'll be using next time you're behind an SSL. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Sam. That was a lot of information in a relatively short amount of time. So, as I said, we want to just dive into two very specific areas, which I think are very unique to SSL Live. So first of all, I'd like to hand over to my colleague, Andrew, and Andrew's going to talk about some Dante integration. SSL Live supports Maddie and Dante simultaneously if necessary, but we have some very unique and powerful features specific to Dante. So Andrew's going to give us an overview of our Dante integration.
Hi, this is Andrew with SSL in New York, as you can probably tell. And today we're going to do a quick introductory look at SSL's Dante dual domain patching. SSL's unique dual domain Dante patching allows you to patch to and from offline Dante devices. This means you can build an entire system without any Dante devices attached. So let's have a look. I will do that. We're going to manage dual domain routing from the Dante configuration. You can see we have no devices present at the moment. So we can create Dante devices that we expect to attach later. We'll make a stage box with compensated splits and a generic device for Dante virtual sound card. We'll give it a customary number of channels. And there we have 3 offline Dante devices. At this point, we don't have to concern ourselves with the names. So from here, the operator can use the normal patching routines of the console to make patches to and from these devices. Let's look at our stage box, and we'll do a handful of patches into our channels, and do the same for Dante virtual sound card. So those patches have been made. Red indicates that the device is just not connected. So we'll head back to Dante, and we will connect our console to our Dante network. Fire up controller. This is our DVS laptop as well. And we see there are currently no patches in our Dante network. Let's head back to the console, where we find our connected devices have been populated with those online devices. So now we have 2 sets of devices. Now we know that Dante relies on the naming scheme to make patches. So what we need to simply do is take our online device and assign it to one of those offline devices. We'll do the same for compensated splits and our virtual sound card laptop. Now, as soon as we've made those devices, our Dante controller patches have also been made. So if I expand the console receiver, we see the handful of patches from the stage box and the handful of patches from the DVS, virtual sound card laptop. If we want to confirm that the console way, we can have a look at our XY patching. We'll load up the stage box here. And those are the green now active and online device patches. So we can continue using the console's normal patching interface. This means that your operator doesn't have to concern themselves with patching in controller. They can stick to using the console exclusively, never having to consider another patch on controller. So that's what makes SSL's dual domain patching truly unique. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you for more in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. That's great stuff. So I'd like to move on to now my colleague, Fernando. Fernando is based in Denver, and he's going to give us an overview of stems. So stems are, again, a very unique element relating to the path structure of SSL Live. This is one of the things that's very much distinguishes it from any other system out there. So over to you, Fernando.
Hello, my name is Fernando Guzman. I'm a live product specialist for Solid State Logic. Thank you for joining us today in this TC Furlong's Digital Console Expo. Today, I would like to describe a very unique topic in the SSL environment, which are called the SSL live stems. So technically the stems in our world are subgroups. So that means these are buses. So like in analog consoles, input channels feeding groups, groups feeding master, master feeding PA, that is exactly the foundation on the SSL live stems. However, the stems are also variable level contribution groups, which means I can define how much level I would like to send from this input to that stem, which makes stems and auxes identical with each other. So if these two elements are identical, then what's the purpose? Okay, well, there's a few differences. We like to call the stems as a super auxes, or I like to call it auxes on steroids. Stems can do a different feeding points: post all, pre-fader, post-stream, post-insert A, post-insert B, and post-fader. Auxes can do only pre or post feeding points. Today, I would like to show you a brief example how to use the stems. I'm going to explain you how I would be mixing a front house monitor situation from the same console. So I have my input channels over there. I'm going to be using some stems, which are going to be working as a groups. So by the stem number 1, I'm going to get the drums. By the stem number 2, I get the percussions and then the tracks. Okay, so basically I'm mixing every single section in my band in an individual processing block. So I'm mixing the drums to the stem number 1. So once the drums are sounding great on my PA, and once I'm doing all the palette compression and the reverbs and all these boss compressor or whatever, I'm going to do the same for the percussions and then for the tracks. So basically, I'm treating every single one of these sections as a single unity in the processing blocks. I've been mixing monitors as well. So I'm keeping using auxes to get monitors. So I have my drummer on the aux number 1, percussion player on the aux number 2, bass player on the aux number 3, and maybe my lead singer on the aux number 4. How I would do this? Well, I've been mixing my input channels to all my mixes, to all my auxes in the same way as I do with any product in the market. I will be mixing now the PA by getting to every stem individually, and like I said, getting ready with an individual pre-mix for the section. Now, this is a very unique characteristic in our console. We've been in this market for 7 years. We've been doing this process since day number 1. In our stems, we have the power to feed another stem. So that means I can get the drums, the percussions, and the tracks to get blend in a next processing block, which is the stem number 4, which is now conforming the foundation on my mix. This is my base. Let's say that my lead singer, he just need a rich program mix to get the reference about the band, okay? So instead of mixing individually every single input channel in my console to my singer, I could send the stems per blocks to feed that mix. So that means stems can also feed auxes. So now I can send the full mix for the drums, I can send the full mix for the percussion to my lead singer, and I have different level contributions between them. So I can define if I like more drums, or I like more percussions, or I need less tracks to this final mix. And then of course, the source for my singer, which is his own microphone, is going to be sent directly to that mix number 4, aux number 4. Once my foundation is on the bass group number 4 for the stems, I can feed that group to the PA. So now I can get all that section on the big speakers. But also, auxes can feed the masters. So that means I can use auxes as a subgroups to later get the masters. I have another plan B to mix my lead singer. So probably I can send the entire group number 4. Instead of sending the drums, the percussions, and the tracks individually, I can send the entire group number 4 as the foundation in the mix just to feed my singer, right? So the power in the stem is amazing. Many of the power users on SSL, they are very happy using these powerful processing blocks based on stems.
Thanks for that. That's great stuff. So We're almost at the end of this, but what I would like to do before I dive onto the final section is just to say that we will be in the breakout rooms later. We would very much like to hear your questions, talk about configurations, and also be able to dive into any more specific areas and talk about the sort of quality of SSL and what we do for all of our clients. So please come by and say hi. We'll be there waiting to chat, and we very much look forward to speaking to you. So finally, the last part is I just want to give people a preview of what is going to be our latest release of software. SSL Live has, over the last couple of years, transformed, and it's part of our Tempest engine and the ability for us to write everything in code. So the console has gained many, many features. V4.11 is no exception. And so this is a preview of something that will be coming public in the very near future. And so I wanted to give you some insights of what we're going to be doing.
SSL Live version 4.11 introduces a variety of new features and updates to the entire lineup of SSL Live consoles, ranging from the L100 through to the L550, as well as our offline editor Salsa. These updates allow for integrated control of wider audio system infrastructure directly from the console, as well as brand new audio sculpting tools and manipulation tools. We have also updated numerous console functions to improve speed, usability, and overall surface interaction that add and expand functionality even further from the previous Live 4.10 release. Let's take a look at some of these headline features. The SSL Live console is now capable of remotely controlling external third-party devices over its connectivity network ports. This allows for a tighter integration between a wider audio infrastructure, such as a loudspeaker processing system, for example. One of the many headline features of this release is the introduction of ELISA system control for immersive audio as part of a complete creative ecosystem. SSL and ELISA have worked closely to deliver tightly integrated control of the ELISA immersive loudspeaker system directly from the Live console interface. ELISA sources can be associated with either mono or stereo console channels or stems and are provided with full control of ELISA pan, distance, width, elevation, as well as aux send levels for each source. ELISA master control is also accessible from the console via an OSC path assignment of the console surface. I will take a deeper look at ELISA integration and setup in a future instructional video. We have also added control support of OSC or Open Sound Control directly from the console for communicating with other OSC-capable devices. Devices can be controlled directly from console audio paths if the device is related to audio processing on that path. These controls display with up to 8 continuous functions and 8 switch functions that can be defined per device. These can work as either path-specific or global functions for the device and can be set up and defined in the external control menu of the console. The other control option is with dedicated OSC paths on the console. These paths have no console audio processing capability, but allow external device control to be easily integrated into your workflow on the surface faders. OSC paths are created in the console configuration menu and assigned to the surface via the layer manager. One of the other benefits of the OSC integration is that SSL Sigma analog summing unit can now be remotely controlled from the console. This allows for a zero latency analog path from a vocalist mic to that in-ear monitoring system. More information on Sigma can be found in the link in this video's description. Another question we often get asked about is remote connectivity to our live consoles. We already have an extensive range of control options including Salsa and Taco, all the way through to our remote fader tiles and surface options. SSL Live 4.11 takes this further and introduces TeamViewer remote control of the live console range. TeamViewer is run directly on the console for remote access, enabling remote support, remote configuration, as well as full surface control. This means that engineers working from home or anywhere in the world with a standard internet connection can directly access the console and all software control features from any computer. TeamViewer is a direct connection to the main console interface and therefore controls the main console GUI rather than providing a remote second position like the Salsa application. whatever controls you interact with or any changes you make remotely will be processed and appear exactly as if you were sat directly in front of the console. The SSL DSP team have been hard at work once again, and they've introduced a number of new audio toys for us to sculpt with. The first of them being the primary source isolator. The primary source isolator is designed to make feedback and stage bleed from open mics disappear in front of your very ears. Opening an instance of the Sorcerer displays an intuitive interface for adjusting the detection threshold and amount of attenuation to allow desired source signals to pass through while casting the vanishing spell on background noise. A carefully selected set of time constants provides precise control over the speed at which the Sorcerer works its magic. The Blitzer introduces a completely new compressor algorithm to the live console. The Blitzer is an ultra-versatile compressor that can produce soft saturating compression to explosive brick wall limiting. Key features include 10 unique compression ratios from 1:1 for adding character without affecting dynamic range, to 20:1 and blitz modes for ultimate slamming. An auto makeup switch to compensate output gain based on input gain and the compression ratio used, a mixed control for parallel compression, a sidechain high-pass filter and parametric EQ for tuning the detection signal, adjustable transient shaping, a drive control for adding vintage-style harmonic distortion, and an analog-style gain reduction meter. The legendary SSL bus compressor has been updated with a number of features, including a high-pass filter in the sidechain, improved performance at high gains, and most importantly, a classic animated analog-style gain reduction meter. These improvements have been added without compromising the number of bus compressor instances that can be used within the effects rack. Version 4.10 software brought the ability to display an FFT analyzer on the path EQ detail view. The version 4.11 software extends this feature with the option to add the analyzer to the effects rack 6 and 10 band parametric EQ modules. Live 4.11 now introduces a number of effects presets for our effects rack plugins. These allow you to quickly dial in effect settings as a start point when setting up an initial show file or mix. New filtering options for path presets, a new fast setup menu, new user key additions, event manager improvements, automation improvements, and talkback inject to stem and master paths. Remember to download the latest version of Salsa so you can experience these new features for yourself. Thanks for watching.
Well, thank you for listening. We very much appreciate your attention. As I said, let's please come to the breakout rooms later, and we would love to chat in person. And I hope that you are all safe and you have a great day, and thank you.
All right, so next up, we're going to be joined live by George Horton, the Vice President for the Western region from SSL. Hi, George. How are you today?
Morning, sir. How are you? Thanks for doing this. Awesome job. Very impressed.
We're so happy that you could join us for the virtual Digital Console Expo this year.
It's a lot easier than going to a trade show. We'll have to do it every year.
Exactly.
Not as much fun, though.
Oh, yeah. So tell us a little bit about the new software release that was just announced a few days ago, I believe.
Yeah, we just published it to our website actually, just at the end of last week, because England doesn't believe in Thanksgiving, it appears. So it's available free of charge for all our clients. But I think the new control integration elements, the Lisa and the OSC, I think is going to add some really interesting combinations. I mean, the SSL system is very flexible. I think it just adds a layer of external control that it improves upon that. So, and I'm looking forward to trying the Sorcerer, though. Their marketing of it's magically making things disappear seems a bit quaint, but we'll see. That's England for you.
No, that's all great. And maybe you can talk just a little bit about some of the SSL heritage. You know, it's been a staple in the recording community for so long, and how does that translate into the digital consoles as well?
I mean, we've been making consoles for over 40 years, and I have been weirdly at SSL for 32 years of that. And And there's certain things that there's the sound of SSL. You know, the SSL G bus compressor, for example, is a very easy one to sort of point at. And then there's the sort of more esoteric ones like the listen mic compressor and stuff. All of those things we do now have in all our digital consoles because it is so much of that sound. It's what people expect. You know, the elements which we call super analog, the high bandwidth, low noise, negligible phase shift. I mean, the SSL Live is the best sounding console out there. Now, I'm obviously work for SSL, and so you know, we encourage people to demo it, try it, listen for it in their own venues. So call us anytime. We're happy to do that because they really do sound good, and so you know, it's part of what we do.
Yeah, that's great. And I know, as you touched in the video there, there's a unique Dante integration with the SSL Live.
Yes, absolutely. And Dante's become very big for us. You know, where it started its life in sort of AV world, the fact that we can integrate it into our platform. So, you know, in show files, if you load a show file, it makes all the routes. When you clear a show file, it clears all the routes off the network. When you have multiple consoles, be the SSL Live or broadcast, they know who owns the mic pre, they know who owns an output. So as the sort of the video spotlighted, or as Andrew did, you don't have to use alternate controller. It is all part of the console. So as a user, it's just, I want to take microphone 12 onto channel 50. You know, it's as simple as that.
Sure.
So yeah, Dante's been a huge thing for us now.
That's great. So I'd like to also introduce, we have Andrew Hollis and Fernando Guzman on the call here, product specialists for the SSL Live line as well. Thank you all for joining us here today.
Thank you. Yeah, looking forward to the breakouts.
Yeah, we're going to have breakout sessions with the full SSL Live team here later today. You can sign up for those breakout sessions at digitalconsoleexpo.com. And so those are going to be a time where you can step into their virtual booth and ask away any questions. I know we've got some consoles live, and you guys are going to be joining us later.
Yeah, we'll see you.
All right, so before we move on, I know we've got a giveaway. George, can you tell us a little bit about the item that we're going to be giving away this morning?
Yeah, so this is been the hottest item this year for us. It's the SSL 2 Plus. It's a USB interface. It's a great box. So it's got two high-end mic pre's. It has a suite of software. It comes with well, originally it came with two SSL of the plugins, the same algorithms we use as in the live console. But actually right now, if you get the box and you register it before the 31st of December, it comes with two additional plugins, which I believe are of about $800 value.
Wow.
And so it's an absolute, it's the hottest item we have, and just in time for Christmas. So I'm kind of jealous. I want one myself. But yeah, so SSL 2 Plus, we're happy to give away. And I hope it allows people to be creative and have some fun out there.
That's great. And so I just was handed a note here. We have the SSL giveaway winner is Douglas Carmichael from Naperville, Illinois. Congratulations, Douglas. You've been a regular attendee of our Digital Console Expo. So we appreciate you being here as well.
Welcome to the family, Douglas.
All right. Thanks a lot, George. And so we'll be seeing you later today at the breakout sessions.
I look forward to it. Thanks very much for this opportunity, you guys. You did a great job, and you know, we'll see you in person soon, I hope.
That sounds good. All right, so next up, we're going to go to Aaron Posega, and he's going to be introducing our next manufacturer.
All right. Thank you very much, Brian. And thanks once again to the SSL team. Looking forward very much to your Q&A sessions later today. Thank you again to all of you who are joining us this morning. If you're just tuning in now, welcome to day 2 of the virtual Digital Console Expo. This is our 10th annual Digital Console Expo this year. This is day 2 of a 3-day live virtual event. So if you happen to miss our main session yesterday featuring presentations from Allen Heath and Yamaha, I want to let you know that that session is available, recording is available in full on our YouTube channel, and that will be the same for today's session as well as tomorrow's. So if you missed anything from any of these presentations, or you just want to go back and review something that you saw, that will all be available in full, so you can search for TC Furlong Inc. on YouTube or keep an eye on our social media channels and your email. We'll be sharing all that information with you. Now, I want to highlight the fact that these main session presentations are really just one piece of the overall DCE puzzle. Later on this afternoon, we're going to have breakout Q&A sessions with all of the manufacturers you're seeing here this morning. Those will be 4 consecutive half-hour open sessions starting at 1 p.m. Central Time. So it's your chance to step into the manufacturer's booth, so to speak, and ask any questions that are on your mind, and just have an open dialogue back and forth. So make sure you're signed up for those sessions at digitalconsoleexpo.com. We also have some deep dive sessions later on today. First, Lawo is going to have their deep dive session at 3:30 p.m. Central. And then we're going to have another deep dive session from Allen and Heath at 5 p.m. Central today, talking about their Avantis console. And again, you can sign up for all of that at digitalconsoleexpo.com. So I think we're ready to move on to our next presentation. And now we're going to hear from Lawo.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Tony Stairs. I'm a sales engineer, and I lead the business development for House of Worship for Lawo North America. And we are excited to once again be a part of the TC Furlong Digital Console Expo. We'd love to have been there in person, but obviously due to COVID, we're doing this virtually this year. But we want to kind of tell you a little bit about Lawo, kind of give you an overview of who we are and what we do as a company, and especially the console market and what we have to offer there. I'm also joined by a colleague and friend of mine, Frank Mosch.
Hi, thanks, Tony. I'm Frank Mosch. I'm based in Belgium, in Europe. I joined the company 3 years ago, supporting the sales team with all sorts of technical questions, as well as doing demos and trainings.
Well, I think you and I were both kind of introduced to Lawo the same way. We were both audio engineers. I was at a House of Worship. I bought a couple Lawo consoles, kind of fell in love with the workflow and the company, but a limited number of people in North America really even know who we are. Do you run into that a whole lot?
In most other countries, Lawo is almost the default console in a lot of markets, especially broadcast, but also theater and some smaller markets.
We say we've been around for 50 years. We got to have a little bit of history in audio. What are some of the key events that we've been a part of? Maybe you've even been a part of around the world?
Yeah, well, we started with audio. I mean, we also do video now, but we started with audio. So we're an audio company at heart. And we've been doing that, as you said, for 50 years. So obviously all the OB companies in Europe, but also in Asia and a lot of other markets have our consoles. And we do all the big the big sports events, the special events like the Olympics and the World Cup, where we then provide the hardware for the host broadcasters. So we have consoles in every venue at the World Cup and also in a lot of venues at the Olympics.
We were the first church in North America to install Lawo consoles. We've seen a few here since then with McLean Bible Church, Flatirons, now Cornerstone Chapel this past week. And so we're seeing that really grow in North America. I mean, and of course we have consoles, a lot of late night entertainment. So the Fallon Show, Saturday Night Live has our consoles. There's a couple of recording studios that do film scoring. So a lot of major films are our console are being used on. So, I mean, we have a growing presence. We've seen our staff grow from just a handful of guys, 10 years ago to now close to 70 employees in North America. Obviously you have a console there with you. We sell other makes and models. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
So I've got a MC Square 56, the third generation, so the Mark III. That is sort of our middle model if you compare it to cars. It has a really nice balance between size or compactness in this case, but still has a lot of features. We have his bigger brother is the MC Square 96. That's really if you want to show off or if you have a lot of room and you need all the controls at your disposal at all times. Those actually are just remote controls of the actual processing hardware that is can be identical for the 56 and the 96. So they share the same hardware platform. And then we have the 36, which is our all-in-one console that actually also runs on the exact same platform, but the processing core is built into the surface. And they all run the exact same software. So feature-wise, they're actually identical.
The ways of configuring it, it's almost endless, because I think you're showing the regular free control panel there for the fader bay, but you actually make that as well with a dual fader. So you could get 32 faders in that single bay.
A lot of people either see it as a broadcast console and they think they can do music on it, or some other markets think that because they know it as a music console, they say, well, it's a music console, right? You can't really do broadcast on it. The fun thing is that you can do both on it. The sound quality is also pretty awesome. So you can still, I've done a lot of classical recordings in Germany for Deutsche Grammophon, also theaters, so they stream right away. And they don't insist, but they almost expect to see one of our desks in the truck if they have to mix in the truck.
And that just speaks for us, the speed of the console to get around. But you spoke to even the sound quality, the people that trust us with the sound, from, like I said, film scores, Oscar-winning film scores that go on. The Grammys use our consoles every year, to the San Francisco Opera. And speaking of sound quality, we do offer a variety of stage boxes as well.
Since the introduction of most of the connectivity being IP, we sort of moved away from that flexibility within the box and more like flexibility on the network. So now we have a number of different stage boxes that you can then connect all to the same network and build your I/O there. Most of them also have a MADI connection. They all have redundant ports and everything. And we also have the more specific stage boxes that are still modular. So we have a one RU box, that the power core, that is modular, so we can still fit it with the exact I/O that you need. And that even has DSP inside, which is now very popular because of all the remote production going on with everybody having to work from home. So we basically have a solution for most I/O demand.
Even down to really our newest platform, which is the UHD cores.
Yeah, the first time I heard about it, I felt a bit like voodoo, because all of a sudden we were taking the signal processing, so the DSP, out of the processing core and into a separate unit. So we decided, since everything is becoming IP, to put it in a separate box. And the cool thing is that unit can by itself do over 1,000 channels, so 1,024. But you don't have to pay for the 1,024 if you only need 512. You can then buy a 512 license. You buy the same box, you just get only half the channels activated, and the other half you can then add at a later stage by simply upgrading your license. So you can expand without having to build new hardware. You just have to change your license. You can also split it. If you have a facility with multiple consoles, you can then all of a sudden share that one DSP unit with multiple consoles. If you need 4 256 channel consoles, you can now run that on this one unit DSP box. And obviously, if you want a redundancy, you can add a second one, which then acts as a backup.
As long as there's network connection, they can essentially use that same core, divide it for their other consoles, and all they have to do is add a surface. You get a lot more longevity out of this equipment because you're not landlocked per se, right?
Yeah, so I already said this is essentially just a remote control of the central processing unit, and the connection is an IP connection. So I can potentially connect this one to any processing core around the world as long as I have an IP connection to it. So actually, we did a test a couple of months ago where I was connected with this control surface to a core in the headquarters in Germany, about 500 kilometers away. And it was as if I was mixing on a local console. We can now also connect small, cheap USB fader panels that support the Mackie UE protocol to connect and control that same surface. We also have software to remote control the console, so we could finish the show from a computer. I can just have the software connected in parallel and end the show there or do other stuff while the show is being mixed on the console. So there's a lot of remote options possible.
We obviously do Waves integration on the desk. I relied on Waves a lot when I was mixing on a Lawo every week. And I think just the seamless Waves integration was great. The console isn't running Waves internally. We use a remote desktop connection for that. But at the same time too, the integration with the console is pretty seamless. So if you create a snapshot, within the console, it creates that in Waves and recalls it, the same way. But I even found the remote desktop connections, because you can have multiple, right? Was even great for when I was doing like virtual sound check, where if I wanted to come in middle of the week, pull up a band, I didn't have to have a separate screen. I could pull that screen up on the desk, do my playbacks, and, I didn't have to take up any more real estate. We have a lot of flexibility when it comes to banks and layers. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I've got 32 faders here, but that doesn't mean I'm restricted to 32 control positions. I've got 6 banks, so I can switch between the 6 banks like that with my bank. I can isolate each individual bay or isolate an individual fader, obviously. So if this is my main fader of my presenter or whatever, I can isolate it so that it remains in place at all times. Or if this section is controlled by a second operator, I can isolate that section by just pressing it on the screen. If I now flip, you will see that only this section or any other sections that are connected are still flipping. So this is a global flip, and I can also individually flip on the screen like that. Each bank has 2 layers, so I can flip the whole bank to a different layer. So I can have an effect here and the effect send underneath it. So if I need to take that down a bit, I just take the effect send down here. Or if I have a main mic and a spare mic on a completely different channel, I can have that on the same fader position. But each channel also has 2 inputs. So you could also have the spare mic on the second input if you want to run it through the same DSP channel. To us, a fader is just a control. If you lay it out really carefully, you can do a lot even with a 16 fader service.
Right. I think a new thing for us is reveal in place, which, I think we've all seen DCA spills in the past, but we've kind of taken that a step further. Can you kind of give us a quick demonstration of what that looks like?
Sure. We came up with this reveal in place because we have a lot of multi-operator customers that have someone else sit on this bit, and he might want to reveal over there. So instead of having a centralized reveal, which we have here on the surface, everyone can have their own reveal. And we also expanded that functionality to not just VCAs and surrounds, but also to buses.
So like in a live entertainment environment, if I had a lot of drums on, I could clear out a lot of space by just putting a drum DCA, and then if I needed to manipulate the drums, I could easily spill those out. Or let's say in an effects scenario where I have a lot of vocalists assigned to a reverb, I can easily just reveal that, adjust what's going to that verb, and then put it back in place. And for those that have never seen our consoles before, maybe just kind of give us a quick overview of what we see in the central section and how easy it is to get around.
So the central section faders can also hold any type of DSP channel. So in that respect, they're not different. The main difference is that here I have my central channel strip. So any channel I select here with these select buttons ends up here, and I can then control either the EQ or the dynamics or the panning or the aux sense or any of the smaller stuff like levels, direct out, insert send level, delay. I can obviously on these smaller ones, I can do that on the fader strip. So I have 4 controls here that I can freely assign. So I can put some often used like compressor threshold or something like that. I can put that on here. So I don't always have to select that and go here. But if I want to have the full channel, I simply call it up and I've got the full channel here, including my joystick on the 56 and 96. Here I've got my user buttons. I've got a trackball to control my mouse on the screen, and I've got a couple of what we call screen control buttons, which control the screen, which show you what you see on the screen. So this is our virtual patch bay, the signal list, I can do bus routing from that page. I have the full snapshots functionality. I can load and save productions from here. So everything that you do is done within the console, and everything you do is stored within the console. There's a USB connection here. So if you put a USB key on it, you can store anything that is stored in the console on the USB. So you can store full production files, but you can also export individual snapshots or different DSP modules. You can also save a compressor preset, for instance, or a whole channel preset.
Yeah, I think, we all kind of live in this world now where touch screens are the norm. And obviously, both of the screens there in front of you are touchscreen. As we know in audio, touch screens aren't always the fastest. So we have dedicated hardware knobs, encoders, buttons to get you where you need to go pretty quickly. Our consoles are one of the very few, if the only console that really adapts to your workflow instead of always forcing you to, work at, whatever the manufacturer decided, you should do or how you should do it. I do want to hit on, feature requests, things like that. I know when I was a customer of Lawo, that was one of those things that really impressed me, that when I made feature requests, there was a lot of times I would see those into the next release, or if it was something that they could quickly program in. We do have a department that actually specializes in custom console programming. And so there's a lot of times if, we don't have to rewrite the entire code of the console, we'll add that feature in custom for a customer.
It's typically a user feedback that drives these consoles forward in a big way. And I've seen quite a number of features that I myself might not have come up with, but at least I forwarded them, and then they ended up in the console. Some of them came from people that converted from other brands, and they had this specific feature that they really liked, and can't you come up with something similar? And for instance, the couple function, if I want to manipulate a couple of channels, I can simply select a range, and now I'm controlling those 4 channels. So anything I do on the EQ, I will do on those 4. There's a lot of stuff you can also either custom configure yourself. We have a page where you can add custom functions, where you can customize certain aspects of the consoles, like these buttons here, for instance. You can put on these buttons what you want. And that's the same with some really special functionality. If it's something that we haven't thought of, we can come up with a way of implementing that. And then it's not that we have to rewrite the software. So you can still do the normal update cycle. It's the script that runs on top of the software. So as soon as the system boots, it will execute that script, and from then on, that special function is active. And if you update, it will still run that script the next time you run your console. So
for Lawo to almost on the spot work alongside of us to give us some custom programming that we needed to enhance our workflow seemed second to none.
And I have always said that, and always felt that as a customer also, that I could basically do anything the way I wanted or was expecting it to do. And obviously, I mean, if this button is blue, it's blue. I'm not going to ask them to make it yellow all of a sudden. A lot of the other stuff that people request, if they need it and we can build it, then we will.
We're not delivering boxes to people. We're delivering solutions. We're a lot more obtainable than people really even give us credit for. So it just surprises people sometimes when they're like, oh, I didn't realize that it really actually is affordable, that we can, it can meet our needs. And I think it's just the unknown sometimes. Yeah, anything else you want to share about the console? Any experience, any parting wisdom, any words for our audience here?
I've had a couple of those where it was like, oh, wow, this sounds so good. I don't have to do anything and it sounds good already. So I think that is one of the big sellers to those guys. They go straight away like, oh, you don't have to convince me already. I can hear it straight away. This is awesome.
I was 3 inputs in, had hardly done any sort of processing to those inputs, and was very, very surprised. And I think that's what takes a lot of people, it surprises a lot of people when they hear it, that they're like, wow, there is a difference in the sound.
You said that before you worked for Lawo.
Before I worked for Lawo, before I
yeah.
collected, my salary from the company, right? So
exact same, yeah.
And I think that's what brought us here, because it's we truly believe in our product and what we do. Not that anybody else doesn't, but that's why we're here and promoting the consoles. I will say you were speaking a little bit just a second ago about using the software online with the console. And I think for a lot of people, it'd be a great way to even train volunteers or inexperienced mixers is let them get their hands on the console, but then you have the software running simultaneously where you can help out. I would do that at front of house, you know.
Now you can look over their shoulders without really looking over their shoulders, and even interfering without them noticing.
Right, and continue to give them confidence.
Not that I condone doing that, but yeah, if you need to, then you have to. Yeah, or if you have to, you need to. Yeah.
Well, Frank, I want to say thanks for giving up some of your time. I know you're in the middle of the evening there.
It's fine. Yeah, dinner's digested now. It's perfect. The night is still young.
Yeah, well, I truly, appreciate you kind of joining me in this session here for the TC Furlong Digital Console Expo. I wish we could be there in Chicago this year, but we're just going to have to be there virtually from Austin, Texas, and Belgium. And so, hey, thanks again for joining us. Thank you guys for tuning in to this session. And we look forward to hearing from you and telling you a little bit more about Lawo.
Take care.
Take care.
All right. Thank you very much for that presentation from Lawo. I think that's a great introduction to a company that might be a new name for a lot of our customers here stateside. So joining me now live is Tony Stairs. He is a sales engineer for Lawo and also heads up their business development efforts for the House of Worship sector here in the US. So Tony, how's it going this morning?
It's going pretty good, man. A little bit of a cold day here in Austin, Texas, but I could be shoveling snow back up in the Midwest where I just moved from. So, hey, man, I'm doing great.
I was going to say, what qualifies as a cold day in Austin, Texas?
50 degrees.
Oh, sounds terrible. So thank you for joining us this morning. Just want to touch on a few things with you now. You briefly mentioned the UHD core in your presentation there. I think that's a pretty unique way of handling DSP. And can you just kind of touch on that again with the DSP licensing process and how that works for the end user?
Yeah, exactly. We have a 1RU DSP unit that the console surfaces connect to. Both the 56 and the 96 surface is just that. It's a big keyboard and mouse for controlling DSP. And the engine itself is separate from the console. And for us, the UHD core is that DSP engine. And it's capable of processing up to 1,024 signal paths. And out of the box, you just license it for the number of DSP that you need. So if you have multiple consoles that just need 256, you can divide it that way or expand a single console to 1,024. And those services can all just be connected via network. They don't have to be in the same facility per se. We have customers with multiple consoles on a campus that then divide up that central DSP. So it's very flexible in being able to adapt to the needs and grow to the needs of the customer and not locking you into what just a console's central DSP is capable of. You can expand it as you need. We even have timed licenses. So let's say, from my background, House of Worship, Christmas time, we need more input. So we could just license inputs for a month for the console and then go back to our regular. So you're not purchasing a bunch of extra DSP that you're not going to need all the time. So a lot of flexibility. And like I said, this is all in 1RU. And you can even build that to be redundant and have a second unit as an online hot spare. So if anything happens to the first unit, you'd instantly fail over without any sort of glitch or anything like that. So still full redundancy, even within 2 rack spaces.
Yeah, that's awesome. So speaking of flexibility, I know that you have an emphasis on flexibility and modularity with your systems. So I wonder if you can kind of give us just the 10,000 foot view of the different options that people have for control surfaces, I/O, and maybe a typical setup that you might see in your focus, which is a House of Worship environment.
Yeah, so what gets people a lot of times with Lawo is the model numbers, right? We have the MC Squared series line of consoles, which we would call our audio production consoles. And we have a single model number, but that model number may have various sizes. So let's say the MC squared 36 line, which is our integrated console, which we say integrated because the DSP is all centralized within the desk. And that one comes in various sizes from 16 fader up to 40 fader. But then you have our MC squared 56 and 96 line of consoles, which can be configured anywhere from an 8 fader or even surfaceless console all the way up to 144 faders. So you just get them in banks of 16, or if you do a dual fader bay, it would be 32 faders in a single bay. And you just configure that to your needs. So not everybody's console is going to look the same. You know, somebody might purchase a 32 fader version. I had a 48 fader version at Grainger when I was there. But a typical setup would essentially be a console surface and then your central DSP. Like I said, configured to the number of DSP channels you feel like you need. And then various stage boxes. So we have some fixed stage boxes, everything from a single 1RU that have maybe 8 in, 4 out, up to a 3RU box that has 32 in, 32 out, plus additional MADI and AES3. And then we have a modular 1RU box that we call the Power Core. It's a very flexible IO unit that has mic line cards, it has Dante interface, Ravenna interface, which is our backbone of our system, and as well as MADI, GPIO, things like that. So very flexible. But then typical setup could easily be like front of house monitors, broadcast, all sharing the same IO on a network.
Awesome. Now, I know we have a deep dive session coming up with you later on this afternoon. I wonder if you can give us just a quick preview of what we'll be seeing there.
Yeah, so we'll do a little bit deeper dive into who we are. We'll talk a little bit more about IP because, like I said, IP is our backbone to everything that we do. So Ravenna AES67 is our transport in order to get signals around in a network and to share amongst consoles or video systems. And then we'll have Frank online with us with his MC Squared 56, showing us a little bit more, diving a little bit deeper into that platform.
Awesome. Now, before we move on, I know we have a giveaway with you as well. I think we're giving away a Lawo swag package with a shirt, mug, some other cool stuff. So I do have a winner for that package, and that is going to be Dave Goldman, joining us in Elgin, Illinois this morning. So congratulations, Dave. We'll be reaching out to you via the email that you used to sign up for the event. So be on the lookout for that. And thanks again, Tony, for joining us this morning. Remember, everyone, that you can sign up for the Q&A breakout sessions starting this afternoon at 1 p.m. Central. That sign up is available at digitalconsoleexpo.com. And then we have the deep dive session a little bit later on. And again, you can sign up at digitalconsoleexpo.com. So thanks, Tony. We'll be talking to you later today.
Glad to be here with you guys.
Glad to have you. And now I'm going to throw it on back to Brian in the TC Furlong Inc. studio.
Thanks, Aaron. All right, so if you're just joining us, again, this is day 2 of our 3-day virtual Digital Console Expo event, and we're so happy that everyone could be here with us today. We've had some great presentations from SSL and Lawo. Again, those will be available on our website later at our YouTube page, we have breakout Q&A registration still available on the digitalconsoleexpo.com. Again, that's a time where you can get small group conversations directly with manufacturers. We also have the deep dive session with Lawo later today at 3:30 p.m. Central. We also have our Allen Heath Avantis deep dive later today at 5 p.m. So make sure to sign up for all of that at digitalconsoleexpo.com. All right, so our next presentation will be coming to us from AVID.
Hi, my name is Chant Peck. I'm the Market Development Manager from AVID Live Sound. And today we're going to take a look at the AVID SXL Unified Platform, along with the new Venue 7 software. The SXL consists of 3 main pieces: the control surface, the engine, and the I/O. Now let's take a look at the control surfaces. This is the 16C control surface. This is the 24C control surface. This is the 24D control surface, the 32D control surface, and finally the 48D control surface. As you can see, the control surfaces range from 16 faders and 32 encoders, all the way up to 48 faders with 160 encoders. Now let's take a look at the engines for S6L. This is the E6L 112. This is the E6L 144. And this is the E6L 192. The engine size determines the amount of inputs you have, the buses you can mix, and how many expansion slots are available. This is the current lineup of expansion cards available for S6L. A MADI card, a Waves card, and for additional plug-in processing power, you can add more HDX 192 cards. Now let's take a look at the available stage devices for S6L. The Stage 64 ships as pictured, with 48 inputs and 8 outputs. You can add 2 more input cards and 3 more output cards, allowing for 64 inputs and 32 outputs per stage rack. The Stage 32 ships as pictured, with 24 inputs and 8 outputs. However, you can order it empty and load it up a la carte. It can be all inputs, all outputs, or any combination of 32. The Stage 16 is a fixed I/O box. It has 16 mic line inputs, 8 analog outputs, and 4 AES outputs. The local 16 has 8 analog mic line inputs, 8 analog outputs, 8 AES inputs, and 8 AES outputs. Now let's take a look at the differences between stage and local. The Stage 64, the Stage 32, and the Stage 16 all have the stage identifiers. This means in a shared I/O configuration, these devices will be available on the network for each engineer. The local 16 is for the local mixer only and does not show up on the shared network. And that completes the current lineup of S6L products: 5 control surfaces, 3 engines, and 4 I/O devices. The key takeaway here is any control surface, engine, or I/O box can be seamlessly interchanged with one another. This is truly a unified platform. Let's take a look at the connections for S6L. S6L uses AVB for all interconnect, using either Ethernet or fiber cables. S6L has the ability to share up to 192 inputs with 2 systems connected. Adding Luminex switches allows for star point connections. The Luminex switches support single system setups or shared I/O configurations. Every S6L system ships with Pro Tools. Pro Tools allows for capture and playback of up to 128 tracks. S6L also allows for redundant recording using a second Pro Tools computer connected to the D port of the control surface. S6L ships with over 60 plugins. Additionally, there are a host of third-party plugins available for use on S6L. Adding the WSG HD expansion card allows you to connect directly to a Waves sound grid server with a simple Ethernet cable. You can also add a second Waves server for redundancy. The Waves plugins can be controlled from the external screen or from the control surface encoders. We've also added a number of immersive plugins from our partners, from DMB Audio Technic, L Acoustics, and Flux. Any previous version of a venue show file will load directly onto an S6L. This includes D-Show, Profile, MixRack, SC48, and the S3LX. All venue software is driven by hardware development and end user requests. Now let's take a look at the new Venue 7 software. When you open the options page, this allows you to see the new Help tab. Within the Help tab, you will see a number of PDFs on the left-hand side, starting with the What's New in Venue guide. Additionally, you will see other guides such as resources, troubleshooting guides, and the SSL handbooks. Clicking on the blue text will take you directly to the page you're looking for. For instance, let's take a look at the new activation procedures. We've streamlined the installation process for SSL, making it much easier to do updates and restores. We've also added new fields in the Devices tab for serial numbers and system IDs. This is for each of the individual components connected to your SSL. With this, it greatly streamlines the process for any issues that may arise, as these are built into the log files and can be used by our customer support for advanced replacement of parts. When loading a show file onto SSL, you will be given a prompt if there's an active event. This means by loading your show file, the event you created will automatically be triggered and set in action. However, this warning dialog now allows you to dismiss the event being triggered until you're ready, or activate it if you're ready for the event to be engaged. We've added shortened channel names to both the input and output faders, as well as the group buses, to help identify them on the external screen as well as the CTMs. Venue 7 adds big meters. Big meter supports high-resolution viewing of any input or output fader metering on the CTM, or Channel Touch module. These big meters can be viewed one at a time by swiping down on the small meter portion of the CTM and then swiping up to close. Or you can choose to swipe down on one while holding the default button, and all inputs and outputs will be switched to big meter view. Holding the Alt button while swiping up switches them all back to normal view. By holding the default button and Find button, you can choose only the inputs for big meter viewing or which type of outputs you'd like to see in big meter view. The big meter view can be assigned to events, which in turn can be tied to snapshots for automating the different view modes. We've added a make or break stereo button on the MLM or Master Live module. While in config mode, if you select any two channels and press this button, it will automatically create a stereo fader for the two selected mono channels. While in config mode, if you select a stereo channel and press this button, it will separate the stereo channel into two separate faders. We've opened up the plugin rack to accommodate 400 plugins for object mixing with the new immersive plugin partners. Each immersive plugin is tied to an object in the immersive field and can be automated using our snapshots. Additionally, we've added graphic EQs, high-pass filters, and low-pass filters on every output. This includes the auxiliaries, the groups, the matrices, as well as the main, left, right, and mono outputs. There is now a polarity switch for every matrix source. We've added parallel mix control on all channel dynamics. This includes all input faders as well as output faders. With this, you can blend in a compressed or gated signal with the original sound and create a ratio between the two, allowing for parallel dynamics on every single channel strip. We've added this feature for the EQ section as well, allowing for a percentage of the EQ'd signal to be added to the original un-EQ'd signal to blend in as desired. Parallel dynamics and parallel EQ are all part of the snapshot automation. We now have post-fader insert points on SSL. This gives us 4 pre-fader insert points, as well as 4 post-fader insert points on every input and every output channel available. These also show up on the CTM for quick access via the encoders. Heat has been added to Venue 7 software as well. Heat stands for Harmonically Enhanced Algorithm Technology. This allows for tube or tape saturation on every SSL input. This can be heard live in input mode from microphones and line sources, as well as playback during virtual sound check. Heat can also be tied to snapshots and events. Venue 7 allows for bus-to-bus routing. An example of this would be taking a set of input sources such as snare drum microphones and busing them into a group. And then that group feeds the drum group. which in turn feeds the instrument group, which in turn feeds the left-right. We've added an all-new delay compensation to AVID SXL. When loading any previous legacy or SXL show file, the default setting is set to Legacy Mode Delay Compensation. At this point, you can select any of the 3 new options available to you. These optional checkboxes are going to be determined by your workflow and whether you are mixing front of house or monitors. In addition, we've added a new feature called Align Total Delay on Attentioned Strips. This allows you to select multiple channels, and by right-clicking on them, SXL will look at the input processing on each of the selected channel strips, and by using the input delay, time align them to the most latent of the selected input strips. USB playback and record has been added to SXL. You can use any off-the-shelf USB drive to play back audio for walk-in music as well as sound effects. The audio can be from multiple USB drives and can also be triggered by snapshots or events. In addition, you can record 2-track mixes to a USB drive as well. The pickoff for this recording can come from any output, including direct outputs and matrices, allowing for blending of sources such as audience mics with the music. Using snapshots while recording allows you to capture the name of the song to the individual WAV file that is recorded per snapshot. This way, each snapshot will create its own WAV file with the name of the selected snapshot. Adding Luminex switches to SXL allows for sharing of I/O with up to 3 systems. Each system has complete and transparent independent gain tracking from one another. This means that no matter which engineer turns a gain knob on any console, none of the other engineers sees or hears a difference. This is called True Gain by AVID. Venue 7 software supports the new AVB HD Milan card from AVID. With this card, any third-party device that is Milan certified can connect up to 128 channels of bidirectional AVB audio from any input or any output of the SXL system. If you are interested in any information about AVID SXL, check out our website or go to Google and type in AVID SXL documentation. Also, please check out our webinars and YouTube videos online. If you'd like a deeper dive into SXL and its capabilities, feel free to reach out to us at venuesxldemo@avid.com. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation.
All right, and now we are going to be joined live by Market Development Manager for AVID Live Sound, Chant Peck, and Sales Manager for the Live Sound Integration Solutions, Matt Lawrence. How are you guys today?
Good, man.
Hey,
How are you doing?
what's going on?
We're so happy that you guys can be here with us today for the Console Expo.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us, man. It's great to be here. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, so let's jump right into it. The big announcement of Venue 7 just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, as you can see, tons of great features in 7. You know, we've been quite busy behind the scenes there working on this for some time. This is quite literally our biggest launch of software probably since 2006. So we come out with, you know, software frequently, but this is by far and away the biggest launch of software that will be available before the end of the year.
That's great. So let's dive into some of the features here since we have a little bit of time. Can you tell me a little bit more about events in the Venue software?
So events are part of the automation of the SXL, and you know, we have snapshots, scenes as other companies call them, that kind of control various parts or every part really of the SXL console, but the event is tied to specific things. So it's kind of a macro, and you can create up to 128 different events, and those can also be tied to snapshots as well. So what I can do is I can assign any button, fader, knob on the console to do something for me. So I can kind of go in and I can say, you know, if I push up a fader, it's going to trigger this event or these events to occur. And you can actually have multiple events triggering one another. So it's just another way to do some pretty impressive things on the console where you can get in and do some really unique workflows. And the whole idea behind it, really the whole idea behind Venue in general is really to make the engineer's life easier. You don't want to be managing these kind of housekeeping tasks while you're mixing. So if you can assign those to events or triggers that'll automatically happen with a push of a button or a throw of a fader, it just makes your life easier. It allows you to continue mixing and focus on mixing the music as opposed to managing something that, it just needs to be happening in the background.
Yeah, no, you can keep your hands on the fader and at the console at the whole time rather than having to turn around for other devices.
Have your head up, man. Pay attention to what's happening on stage.
Yeah. That's great. So let's dive a little bit deeper for I/O for S6L systems. I know this question has come up before of like the best way of sharing I/O between S6L system, and how does that work?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways. If you are looking to share I/O with two systems like front of house and monitors, it's simply daisy chaining the devices together. So really, it's a matter of connecting the engine of one system, say the front of house engine, to the first stage rack. If you have multiple stage racks, just daisy chaining them together, connecting that to the second engine, and then connecting them together. And with this, you can kind of go in and pick and choose which is the master of the stage rack. The key to it, though, is that it doesn't matter who the master is of the stage rack. You can seamlessly switch back and forth if you need to, that master configuration. And it also allows you to mix, say today on a shared I/O rig, walk into another gig tomorrow that's not shared I/O, plug in your show file and start mixing right away. So there's no rethinking of, well, today I have this stage rack or this setup or, these inputs versus those outputs. It just is all within the show file. It's all managed within the show file. And that's how we handle it. If you do a 3-system I/O sharing, which will become available with Venue 7, you will need to use the Luminex switches. So Luminex switches are the ones that we've qualified to date. And with those, you will be able to set up front of house broadcast and say monitors on the same ring. And again, the thing here is that everybody has independent control of the gain. It's a full 60 dB of gain that each engineer has, regardless of who's controlling the analog side of the head amp.
That's great. Let's take a turn here and let's talk about multi-track recording. And I know that's big for AVID systems of how you would handle multi-track into potentially Pro Tools or maybe another DAW. But what about redundant setup in a multi-track recording? How might you do that?
Sure. Yeah, so on the back side of the control surface, you simply plug in an Ethernet cable. There's 4 ports there. There's an A port, a B port, a C, and a D port. A and B are for the control surface to connect to the engine. The C and D ports are for Pro Tools. So the C port would go to your first Pro Tools machine, just simple Ethernet cable into your Mac. Because Mac is the only one that has AVB drivers right now, So with that, you can record up to 128 tracks over a simple Ethernet cable directly into Pro Tools. If you connect a second Pro Tools machine to the D port, you'll be able to record an additional 128, or I should say a redundant version of the 128. So basically you're getting a gain matched recording of the initial machine. So there you have a built-in redundancy already available to you in Pro Tools. And then you could actually use a MADI recorder, connect that to our stage rack. That's a parallel split. So you could have a third redundant recording of those inputs on a MADI split. The key here is VenueLink. VenueLink allows you to create your Pro Tools session with a simple, click of the mouse on your Pro Tools machine. It goes out, it looks at all of the inputs that you've already labeled in the S6L system and builds your Pro Tools session based upon those inputs. It also does the routing for you. So on virtual sound check, you don't have to check your routing one-to-one. It's already done for you. And then you can also drop markers in. So as you fire a snapshot, it will actually drop a marker in the Pro Tools timeline. So then for virtual sound check, you can go back to that specific location and start working on the song. Now that doesn't mean you can't use other DAWs with S6L. You can use any DAW that recognizes the core audio of the Mac. So if you want to use, the tracks live, the Waves used to have, window, whatever it is that you are comfortable with using, you can actually track using that and mix post with that as well. But you don't get the venue link portion of that if you use another DAW. So that's kind of the synergy between the Pro Tools and the S6L system.
That's great. So as a reminder to everyone still watching, Chant and Matt will be available at the breakout Q&A sessions later today. So if you have any specific questions about the SXL system, you can sign up for the breakouts at digitalconsoleexpo.com and you can get one-on-one with them. We do have a couple more minutes here. So let me ask you about an interesting feature that I saw, which is called how you would do the align total delay on attentioned strips and how that might work.
Sure. So I'll actually, I can show you on the screen if you want me to share, or I can just talk about it.
Let's just talk about it first.
Okay, cool. So so basically what it is you select a group of inputs, a range of inputs. So for instance, your drum microphones, right? So you have, say, 12, 15 drum inputs. You've also added processing to those drum inputs, whether they be plugins or whatever they are. They could be hardware inserts, they could be plug-in inserts. And what it's going to do is as you select that range of inputs, you right-click on them, and it goes and it looks at the individual plugin and the latency of the given plugin on the strip. And it just time aligns in by pushing back. It says, okay, the kick drum is the latest input of these 12 sources. So we're going to push all the others back in time so that it's coherent on the output of those drums that are feeding the left-right. So it's basically taking math and applying it across the input delay of every channel strip, just looking at the processing delay of any samples that may be occurring per plugin.
That's great. And so let's talk about some of that processing. The plugin integration on an SXL system has always been one of the hallmarks. So let's talk about how you might add plugins to an SXL system.
Yeah, well, one of the key features about Venue in general is literally any show file that you've had since February of 2005 will load directly onto SXL. So if you've used DShow, Profile, SC48, any of those in the past, you can walk in, load up your show file, and start mixing where you left off on that other system years ago. With that, I'm sorry, what was the
plugin integration?
Thank you.
There you go.
Plugins, there we go. Get back on track. And the reason I said that is because it basically looks at any plugin that could have been part of your show file, say on an SC48. Not all of those ported over, because that was what we called TDM technology. We're now using an AAX technology. Most plugin manufacturers ported over so we could easily move from one to the other. But in the case that they didn't, you just have to pick an alternate. For those that did, basically they created better sounding versions of their plugin. So even if it was a Waves plugin, Waves has kind of moved to this external, model for using plugins in a live environment. Even if you have a profile, say show file or SC48 show file, and that had Waves plugins on it, as long as you have the Waves card, the Waves server, your show file loads up, it goes out, it sees the server, it sees the licenses for that, and then it will automatically build your plugin rack accordingly and how you expect it to work. It retains all snapshot automation for those plugins as well. So whether they be the new version of an old plugin or Waves versions running on the SoundGrid rack plugin architecture, it's going to load up and work just the same as it always has.
That's great. All right. So as we're talking about Waves, if you have two Wave servers, would you need to have two sets of licenses as well to run on those servers?
No, you actually, on the card, there's two Ethernet ports. You plug the first port into the first Wave server. You then plug your license into the console, whether it be running, living on the console or on a USB stick. It goes out and it sees your licenses and it authenticates them, allows you to use them in the rack. If you've connected a second Wave server to the second port of the Waves card, it uses that one set of licenses for both servers. So in the event of something happened, something went down on the first server, it would seamlessly switch over to the second server and it's continually updating in real time. So as you make adjustments on the first server, if it were to go offline, the second server is retained any of those adjustments, and it will start working in the background. So
that's great. Seamless integration there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as we're wrapping up here for our show, I want to talk about the giveaway, and maybe Matt, you can help introduce this. I am told that we have a 1-year Pro Tools license that we're going to be giving away to our customers here.
That is correct. That is correct. Just to note, if you do buy an S6L, it comes with Pro Tools. but on the other hand, no, yes, we are giving away a Pro Tools, so go for it.
All right, that's great. So I have been handed this card here, and it says we have a winner for this, Michael Castro Pinzon from Colombia. You are the winner of the 1-year Pro Tools license. So we will get in touch with you to make sure we get you set up with that. Chan and Matt, thank you for joining us here on our main session. As a reminder to everyone, they will be available in our breakout sessions later today. Again, you can sign up for those at digitalconsoleexpo.com. Any questions you might have for them, they'll be available to answer. So
thank you guys
thanks
so
for
much
joining
for
us,
putting this
Matt.
on. Yeah,
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate the time. Take care.
We're really happy that you could all be here with us. All right, so that is wrapping up day number 2 of the TC Furlong Virtual Digital Console Expo. So happy for everyone that could have joined us here today. Thanks again to all of our manufacturers, including Solid State Logic, Lawo, and AVID for their presentations today. Again, all of those manufacturers will be available in the breakout Q&A session starting at 1 p.m. today. It's Central Time. You can sign up for those sessions at the digitalconsoleexpo.com website. Make sure you sign up for the deep dive sessions that are available there as well. We have one with Lawo. They're going to be doing a deeper dive into the history of the company as well as some of their product line. And then later today, Allen Heath will be showcasing their Avantis system. Again, all the signups can be found at digitalconsoleexpo.com. All right, so a big thank you on my part to the TC Furlong production team for helping put this all together today. We've got Matt, we've got Steve and AJ and Scott. We couldn't have done it without you. Another big thank you to Aaron for helping with the co-hosting. And a thank you to everyone else on the TC Furlong team for help putting this together. It's definitely been a team effort. All right, so a reminder, this is day 2 of the 3-day event. So tune in tomorrow. We also have presentations starting tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central from Waves and Digico, as well as their breakout Q&A sessions tomorrow as well. And we've got another deep dive session with Allen Heath tomorrow evening on their SQ series. So make sure you sign up for all of the events again at digitalconsoleexpo.com. And we'll hope to see you later today in the breakout sessions.